Wir singen zusammen die Geschichte über den Schweinkopf, den Hund und den lieben Red Baron.
Well, welcome back to the arcade. Today we're going to revisit the Red Baron. Now, if you've recently seen my videos on the Red Baron, getting it back up and running, I wish now that I had changed the T-nuts for the leg levelers. I started to do it, and I should have done it when I had it out in the garage and had it laying down. Now I got it in the game room here, and I just need to have wheels on it so I can roll it around, make it easier to get to. So I try to put these wheels on all my games. So, and the only thing is you have to put these larger plates on the bottom. If you don't, the original T-nuts on the cabinet, because the if you notice here, the wheel is off center from the pivot point. So when you put a lot of weight on it, it has a tendency to act like a lever, and it'll take those Atari T-nuts that they put in for the leg adjusters, it'll just rip them out of the wood, especially if your wood is the slightest bit rotten. The wood is fairly good shape on this cabinet. I don't think that's going to be a problem. On my Asteroids cabinet, I had to replace some of the wood because the wood had rotted around the T-nuts. So what we're going to have to do first is, because this cabinet has 4 leg levelers on the cabinet and 2 on the step, I'm going to go ahead and take the step back off, and because I don't want to damage the step. If you were to tilt this up on the front and put all the weight on the step, it would just rip it right off the front of the cabinet. So that wouldn't be good. So we're going to go ahead and take the step off and deal with the leg levelers on that, separately, and then we'll figure out how we're going to do it on the cabinet here. For those of you that watched my last video when we put the step on the cabinet, it's pretty straightforward. For those that didn't get to see that video, you got 2 studs that sticks through the front of the cabinet here, and they got washers and nuts on them, 2 on this side and 2 around the corner on this side. Kind of hard to see. There you go. So we're just going to go ahead and take those 4 nuts off and pull the step loose. Okay, now that we got all 4 of the nuts loose, all we have to do now is just pull the front step right off. And there's our leg levelers. Now, because this is blocked in, we do have an access hole here where we can get a hand up into that side, but it'd be kind of hard to get up in this side, so we might just go ahead and put lag bolts in here. We'll figure that out. Okay, well, in order to put the plates for the wheels on the bottom of the cabinet, I need to lay it down on its side. I'm kind of pressed for room in here, but what I'm going to try is, I got my Harbor Freight lift table, which I use to pick up and move my pinball machines around. I put a piece of cardboard on top of it, so I'm going to lean it down on it and try to balance it on it, and that way I'll be able to hopefully manage it and be able to move it around and jack it up so we get a little height on it. And let's see, maybe I ought to jack it up a little bit so I won't have to come down quite as far. And let's see what happens. Hope this will work. And it did. That's pretty balanced right there on the pinball lift, or the lift table. So now I'll be able to kind of put it in place so I can work on the bottom. Okay, well, I got the game up on the lift, and the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and take the leg levelers out. So I'll start with this one here. And I just put these in. These were new, so they should come right out. Yeah, I can see the T-nut is wiggling in the wood. I mean, I guess this was good when the game was new and you got these straight leg levelers on it. Obviously it held up pretty good because the bottom of this cabinet really didn't get wet and rotted. But a lot of times the wood around here, the water will creep up. I don't know how it does it, but it sort of wicks its way up, and it'll get around this T-nut, and it'll rot out around the T-nut. And there's quite a few games that they're either missing, or I've even seen them, if you take and drop the game real hard, they'll just push right up into the wood, into the bottom of the cabinet. And the reason I'm putting these plates on is just for that fact. I went ahead and tried it without it, and I put one on this bottom one down here, and I put wheels on one side, and when I went to pick it up to put a block under it so I could put the wheels on the other side, the one down here just twisted in the wood and started to break out. So right then I knew that if I wanted wheels on this cabinet, that I was going to have to put the heavy-duty plates on it. Which isn't a big problem, but I wish I had done it while I had it out in the garage working on the cabinet. It would have been easier at that time, because now it's gotten cold outside and it's raining, and it's just miserable working outside in an unheated garage. So, okay, well, I'm going to prise these staples out here. And it might help if I get a pair of needle nose pliers and a smaller screwdriver. Something to get under the edge of it with. Yeah, just something to pop it up. Pop the edge of that staple up so I can get the bigger screwdriver under it. Prise it out. There's some pretty good sized staples they put in there. I always thought they were smaller staples than that. Some of the games I think have a smaller staple and maybe even a smaller T-nut. But anyway, that one's out. Let's see if I can get this one started over here. was in pretty tight. But still come out relatively easy. Okay, probably the easiest way to get these out, now that I got the staples out, I'll go ahead and put the leg leveler back in, give it a little wiggle. And there we go. Let's see if we get this one out. Put this anti-seize material on there so that the threads wouldn't rust, and it's making a mess, but that's the way it goes. Alright, that's two of them. These are heftier looking T-nuts than what I have seen in these games. Alright, let's get the bottom ones. Do the same thing. Pull the staples. Staples out of that one. So here was already half out. This is the one that the leg leveler twisted, and the board has kind of started to peel on that side. But it should be fine because we're going to drill one of the bolts in here, so it'll flatten it back out. It should be enough meat on that board to hold it. Okay. Now let's see if we can get these out. Out. One more to go. And this one should come out. As you can see the board wiggling right there. I'll probably pull this one up and put some wood glue under there, and then when I bolt the plate down, it should pull it tight and the glue dry, and it should glue that back together like a laminate. It's just the top layer. Actually, that one might have a little bit of rot in it. But it's not going to matter because when I put these on, I can't put them right on the corner because the cabinet has 3/4 inch wood blocking all the way around it. So I'm going to have to draw a line 3/4 of an inch all the way around. And then what I want to do is I'm going to use these fender washers right here on the inside. So after I come off of my 3/4 inch blocking lines, I'm going to go ahead and put this in the corner because I want to be able to put this on the inside of the cabinet. The plate is going to go on like this, and the bolts are going to go through the cabinet, and the washers and the nuts are going to go on the inside. So I have to drill the hole in the bottom far enough away from that 3/4 inch blocking so that I'll be able to get these fender washers in there. And once I get that first hole drilled, then I'll be able to put my plate on here, drill the other 3 holes, mark this center hole because I'm going to have to cut out the hole in the center for this welded on nut to go into, because this will actually go up in the hole so that when you tighten down on the plate, it'll pull this nut up tight to the plate. So that's what we're going to do. That's the plan anyway. So let's see what we can do. We'll first thing we'll do is we'll measure off the 3/4 inch blocking. Alright, so what we'll do first is we'll take our ruler here. And we'll measure 3/4 right here. Quarters here. And we'll just line the lines up. Do the same thing here. Did this one time before. The lines are wearing off on this ruler. I have a hard time seeing where the marks are. Well, it's not real precise, so I'm not too worried about it. Since the back here is cut on a slant, I'm wondering, yeah, so is that side. The blocking starts on the edge of this, so that's not a problem. Get down and get that bottom measurement. A little close to the floor down there. Okay. Alright, that gives us the perimeter for the wood blocking that goes around the base of the cabinet. So next what we'll do, take one of our fender washers and we'll put it right here like this, because we want our fender washer to be able to fit inside these blocks on the inside of the cabinet. So we'll go ahead and mark our hole. So now we got our first hole to start with. So that means that the plates will go on just like that. So we can go ahead and put these other holes on here. And we can even mark this center hole. Okay, let's start with the top two. Now these are 5/16 bolts. These are the bolts I'm going to use. And so they're 5/16 holes in the plates. So what we need to do is get a 5/16 bit. Okay, I'd like to note that I've already looked inside the bottom of the cabinet and I've already measured for the plates, and these holes that I'm going to drill are going to be clean holes. There's nothing inside the cabinet I'm going to be drilling into. It's very important because different cabinets have components placed in different places. A lot of times on the floor of the cabinet you have power transformers and power supplies and everything else. So before you go drilling holes through the bottom, you always have to look inside the cabinet to make sure that you're not drilling into anything, which I've already done, so we're good on that. So all I have to do now is just go ahead and drill the holes through. Now normally I would use a regular wood bit for this, but I don't have a 5/16 wood bit, so I'm just using a regular standard bit like you'd use to drill through actually metal. It's a high-speed drill bit, which will work when you're drilling a hole this small. It makes a pretty clean hole, so you'll be able to get by with it. Okay, the last one is the center hole. Now the center hole has got to be bigger because we're going to have this big nut's got to go through it. So I do have a wood bit for that. We're actually going to use a 3/4 inch wood bit, and the 3/4 inch bit should be perfect size for it. So let's go ahead and put that in the drill. Now, the neat thing about a wood bit like this, it has a point on the center, which makes it real easy to line up. Just put it right in the center of your hole, and it's hard to miss. Okay, that's pretty good solid wood there, so we shouldn't have any problems. Alright, so we got 4 bolts. Now, since these holes are exact, they may have to drive them in, which is good because they'll kind of hold themselves. Because I didn't use the plate as a template, they were pretty close. Alright, that's the first one. Now all we got to do is put our washers, nuts and lock washers on the back side and tighten it down, and that one will be done. So let's go ahead and finish this one first, and then we'll come back and do the rest. Okay, well, here we are inside the cabinet. And as you can see, here's where it comes through on the bottom of the cabinet. And what we're going to do is we're going to take and put one of these large washers, large fender washer, which will help support the wood. And now we're going to put a lock washer on each one. These bolts might have been a little overkill, but I didn't want to get bolts that were too short, and I got them longer so on other projects I can use them, because I got a big box of them. Other projects I might have a thicker board to go through, so I went ahead and got a little bit longer one, but that's okay. It'll still work just fine. That's why I didn't get nylon lock nuts, because you'd be forever screwing them down on them longer bolts. Get a socket that's going to fit that. Find out where. Okay, that should be all 4 of them. And that one is all done. Okay, well, we got one all done, so now we'll go ahead and do the other 3, and I'll go ahead and do those. No need for you to sit through that. And once I get all 4 of these done, then we'll come back and we'll do the step. Okay, well, we finished up and got all 4 of our new leg leveler plates bolted onto the cabinet. And before we set it back up on the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and install the wheels on the top side here, because when I roll it over, I don't want to put the weight on the bottom wheels. So I'll go ahead and tilt it up and set it down, and it'll be resting on these wheels and that edge of the cabinet. And then I'll just, once it's sitting vertically, I'll lean it up and put a block underneath it so I can put the last 2 wheels on after it's already in the upright position. So we'll just go ahead and screw these wheels on. And we're going to screw them all the way up and tighten them up. And because this board is relatively flat, or it should be, there shouldn't be any problem with it. It's on carpet anyway, so it should sink down on the carpet and sort of self-level it. Another thing, the built-on nuts on this are 9/16, and it's real thin, and when you screw it all the way up to the plate, it's not much room to get a wrench in there. So what I did, I took an old 9/16 wrench I had laying around, and I went ahead and put it on the bench grinder and ground both sides down. So now I got a wrench that's thin enough to fit in there, so I can tighten them up. So this will be my leg leveler wrench from now on. I'll keep it in my game toolbox, so I'll be able to use it just for this purpose. Okay, now we got those two on. That should be good. Next thing I wanted to check, I went ahead and just stuck the step in place. It's not bolted on, but it is up tight against the cabinet. I wanted to check to make sure that the base of the cabinet and the base of this is level. So if I put a straight edge on it, it's close, but it's a little bit higher. So that means that if I put the plate on here just like I put on the bottom, it's going to not quite hit the floor the same as these. Although on the carpet it might be close enough. But if I have to, I can always put a fender washer underneath it, 1, 2, 3, or however many I need, to set the wheel at the correct height. I really don't want a whole lot of pressure on this wheel. I just want it on there so that if the cabinet somebody did pull it forward, it would have, you know, something there to rest on. And I thought about leaving the leg levelers in it and just running them down, which would work, because a lot of modern games in the arcade have wheels and leg levelers both, and you know, you set the leg levelers down once you get it in place. But if somebody was to roll it without putting these up, it could snag on the carpet, because I have the edge of a carpet down here, and if it was to snag it might, who knows what it might do. So anyway, that ought to be good enough. Next we're going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this back off, and we'll jack this up in the air a little bit and get up on the other end and set it back up. Okay, so here we go. We're going to set it up. First I'm going to go ahead and jack the lift table up, because that way I'll be able to let it naturally tilt down a certain amount, and that'll make it a little bit easier to pick it up on the other end. If you've ever tried to pick up an arcade cabinet by yourself that's laying flat on the floor, it can really put some stress on your back, so you need to be aware of that. It's nice to have another person to help you if you're going to do that, but I find it's best to use some type of table to prop it up on. That way you won't have quite as far to pick it up. It's not like it's laying flat on the floor. So let's see if we can do this. First I'm going to tilt it down so it's resting on the floor. And from here it should be pretty easy. Just go straight up with it. Okay, that won't too bad. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this block of wood and I'm going to put it underneath here The thing is, the cabinet's going to want to roll on the wheels now. There we go. Won't quite fit under there because it's hitting my pinball machine back there. So see if I can roll it back a little bit. Alright, that'll give me plenty of room. Let's try that again. Okay. Actually, it's resting against my pinball machine. So I'll just put that there to prop it. I don't think it's going anywhere. So now I'll get down there and put those wheels on. Okay, now we'll get down here and put those wheels on real quick. Okay, they're all tightened up. Take a block out from under it. And ease it back down. That's pretty solid. And we now have a game on wheels that we can roll around. Okay, and it's pretty solid. So now all we have to do is finish the step. Okay, now we're ready to do the step. We'll do the same thing we did to the cabinet. We're going to start by removing the leg levelers. And removing the staples. Now, because of the way the step is constructed, there's only one way you could even get underneath this wood to put the nuts on. There's this hole right here and it's off center. Now, and the way it's constructed, There's not much room back here at all. I mean, I could probably get in there for this side, but my hand just won't, an arm won't get in the hole far enough to reach that side. So what I'm going to do with this one, instead of using bolts and washers and nuts, I'm going to use a lag bolt. Now, because the step, I'm not going to be putting a whole lot of pressure on it anyway, the lag bolt ought to work just fine. They probably would have worked in a cabinet. I'm pretty sure people have used lag bolts before, but something about a bolt and a nut that I just like. These could loosen up probably easier than a traditional bolt and nut, but they should go in and wedge in pretty tight. Now we're going to drill a pilot hole to put them in. We're just not going to put them and screw them directly into the wood. You probably could, but because these, I believe they're 5/16. Yeah, they're 5/16, so they fit the plate just like the bolts. If you were to screw these directly into the wood, you would probably split and crack the wood. You may not, but it's very possible you would. So you want to drill a small pilot hole to does two things. It gives it room to make the threads to screw in, and it keeps it straight at the same time. So that's the plan. Okay, now let's go ahead and these are actually in here kind of flush, and I've already looked inside, and they do have the 3/4 inch blocking all the way around. So if we did it like we did the bottom, and go 3/4 of an inch, let's just see how that works out. And I really only need it right here. Something that I found out when I was looking on the inside of the cabinet, and I believe this will be the exact same thing. Let me just stripe these two lines here. Something that I noticed on the inside of the cabinet is the T-nuts, they drilled the hole so that the center hole right here is right on the edge of the 3/4 inch blocking, so that when you threaded the leg levelers into the wood, when you looked inside the cabinet, you could see that this was coming up through the corner between the wood. So with that in mind, since we're not even going to be using these, and if I was to put them on like that, then that hole would be off. So all right, let me think about this and see how I want to mount these. Okay, well, I think I've decided what I'm going to do. I'm not going to worry about the blocking on the inside. I'm going to go ahead and just put these right on the edge, because it's going through some pretty thick plywood here, and the lag bolt is rather long. It's going to go all the way through this piece of plywood, but it's also going to go into the 3/4 inch blocking, but it's not going to go all the way through it. So that should just help secure the blocking in. It shouldn't split it, because I'm going to drill a hole in there. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and start out by just lining this up on the edges. And I'm going to go ahead and drill out my center hole. Got into the side of that other hole right there. Okay. Now I'll go ahead and drill the pilot holes for the lag bolts. Okay. Lost my pencil. Just mark these 4 holes. Now this isn't a very big drill bit, but it's all we need for the lag bolt. Keep saying I'm going to take this ratchet back to Sears. The spring in it is messed up. It's a Craftsman, but I haven't done it yet. But I got to do that one day. Need to get me a wrench. Much better. Okay. It's pretty tight. Now, go ahead and put the wheel on, but what I'm going to do to make up for that little bit of difference, I'm going to put me some fender washers on here, and it wasn't much, so I think 3 washers ought to make up the difference. Only thing is, these washers won't fit it. I'll have to drill them out. Alright, well, for the time being, I'm just going to put them in like they are and see how close it is. I can always prop them up and put some on it later. All right, now we'll do the other one and then we can put it on. Okay, well, there we go, all finished. Now have wheels on the step, so now we just have to bolt it back onto the front of the cabinet. Okay, well, it's all done. We got the front step back on. Cabinet now rolls around any way I want to roll it. And it's good and solid. That's what I needed to do. Now there's only one thing to check on to see what happens next. Okay, let's see if we still got a working game after all that jerking it around. Yep, looks like we have a working game. Might have to turn the brightness up on it in the monitor a little bit, but play a game. Alright, well, that's it for this video. Now you know how I put wheels on my games. It makes it a whole lot easier when your game's in a small room like I have mine, and you have to move them around to clean under them or to make repairs on them. So it's, in my opinion, the only way to go. Yeah, sure, these older games, they're a little bit higher up off the floor, but I'm a short person and it doesn't bother me, so it feels good just like it is. It's only maybe, it might raise it 1.5 inches, 2 inches at the most, depending on the type of wheels you get. So that's it for this video. Look forward to another one. Don't know what I'm going to be getting into next, but we'll figure something out because there's always something to do around the arcade.